Rick's story just got a whole lot more interesting, as in Season 9, Episode 2 of Rick and Morty, some huge facts as well as major story points about him were revealed. This episode is massive. Now let's get right into covering every important detail which you may have missed. The episode is titled Rick's Days, 7 Nights. It all starts with Rick driving down a country road when suddenly a deer runs in front of him and causes him to crash his RV. As he's repairing his RV, he looks at the deer and is relieved that it's still alive. By the way, this deer will become incredibly important later on. Rick then drives to a bowling alley called Dream Lanes, and it's clear that he's likely been to this place many times before, as there's pictures of him on the establishment's wall. As well, the people here greet him like this.
My God, look who it is!
He's back!
Hey.
Welcome back, brother! We love you, Ted!
Ted!
Hold on, what? Did they just call Rick Ted? What exactly is going on here? As I don't think that Rick is a teddy bear. Well, for whatever reason, it seems that Rick is living a double life. As on top of this, the same guys from the bowling alley then ask him if he still has a pipe selling business.
You still selling PVC? How's business down there?
Good enough to get me back up here.
Think you can put in a word?
Son, you don't want to sell pipe.
He just wants to lay some.
Interesting. Rick then leaves the bowling alley and gets in his friend's truck so that they can go and pick up drinks. While leaving and talking with his friend, Rick says this.
Marjorie's keeping the place open late now?
Yeah, her mother passed a few months back. Don't think she wants to go home.
Everybody's running from something.
This most definitely is a subconscious self-recognition by Rick, as he knows that he himself is running from something as well. But what exactly is he running from? Well, while at the liquor store, the place ends up getting robbed by a guy with a gun, and as he points his gun at Rick, Rick's sci-fi tech kicks in and kills the guy in order to keep Rick safe. Rick's double life has been exposed, right in front of his friend, so he then panics and runs off to his RV. But the weird thing about all of this is that it seems that not even Rick knows that he's living a double life, as when he gets back to his RV, he tries removing his tech from his arm, and doing this causes a hologram of Rick to show up and say this.
I'll make this simple, Ted. You're not a PVC salesman from 2 states south. You're the smartest man who's ever lived, and you were born 400 light years away. You think it's fun to be a god, Ted? You think God's nipples get hard when he murders a fish? That's why every summer I take 2 weeks off and come here. I wipe my brain and pull all but my survival tech.
Wow, so I guess it turns out that Rick clearly isn't happy with his day-to-day life as the most brilliant man alive. So much so that he purposely wipes his own brain to live as this more simple guy named Ted. What he's running from is his own life. Wow. The hologram then gives him the option to hit a red button, which will make him revert from being Ted and go back to being himself. Or he can hit the blue button, which will clear all of the events which caused Rick to realize that he isn't just a guy named Ted from his head, so he can then go back to enjoying his trip away from being himself, as if nothing happened. Just like the Matrix, Rick has the option to choose the red pill, which means that the truth will be revealed, but taking the blue pill on the other hand means blissful ignorance. So what will Rick choose? Well, he chooses neither, as Rick seeing this hologram of himself causes him to freak out and run out of his RV, where he then begins questioning his life. So he heads back to the bowling alley, which is now closed, and asks the owner Marjorie if he can sleep in a spare room of hers, as opposed to his RV. Apparently, Rick has a thing with her, as in the morning, he wakes up in her bed and gives her a kiss as he heads back to his RV. While back at the RV, he is greeted by more pre-recorded holograms of himself, which attempt to get him back on track to hopefully make a decision between the red or blue button. But Rick isn't going to budge. He still doesn't want to pick either, so he purposely destroys his RV. It's clear that Rick really wants to continue living a simple life as Ted, beyond the 2 weeks which he originally planned for before wiping his mind. As on top of this, while with his same friends from the bowling alley, he says this.
Ted, one of these days you gotta come up in July.
Actually, thought I might stick around this year. I think I only exist when I'm here. Like, this is literally the only place I'm actually alive.
Wow, that's quite deep to say the least. Rick only feels alive for 2 weeks of a year throughout his whole life. It's almost quite similar to how many people often feel in their lives, working all the time for someone else, 50 weeks a year, just to enjoy 2. Rick feels like a slave to his real day-to-day life as the most genius man in the universe. That's why earlier he didn't pick the red button. But he also knows that picking the blue button would inevitably bring him back to that same life which he is fleeing, just as if he picked the red one. So he wants the best of both worlds. In his mind, by not picking a button, he's picked the purple button, and he isn't going to let his past self make him choose otherwise. That's why later that night, when a spaceship of his comes to try and bring him home, he resists. Then luckily his friends show up and destroy the ship.
Is this your ship from space?
It's his. He's non-vacation me. I don't know him, and I don't want to. But this is coming for me, and I don't intend to let him win.
Rick now knows that his past self has already planned to stop him from picking the hypothetical purple button, but he doesn't want to be controlled.
This is literally the only place I'm actually alive. Does that make sense?
So he begins removing his tech from his arm with the help of his friends, while also preparing an ambush for the next inevitable attack by his past self. When a bunch of his own robots eventually show up to bring him home, luckily Rick is able to defeat all of them with his friends. But sadly, Marjorie is killed during the chaos. After seeing the pain which his past self has caused him, Rick wants revenge on himself.
He thought he could come here and destroy me, so I'm gonna go there and destroy him.
Lucky for Rick, his friends are on board to help him, so he begins reverse engineering the tech of the robots which he just defeated, and finds the location of his real home by using constellation mapping. Rick then builds a spaceship and heads off home with his friends. Once they make it, they're greeted by yet another hologram of Rick from the past.
If you're seeing this one, clearly the holograms are not working.
Let's get him, boys!
Then suddenly his own tech in his garage proceeds to attack all of them, as if it is trying to force Rick to pick the red or blue button from earlier. But thankfully, the Smith family then enters the garage and Summer deactivates the tech.
Garage, override code Charlie 7 Alpha.
Now that Rick has defeated his past self, he's able to have the best of both worlds, and his friends from the bowling alley think that all this genius science stuff is pretty awesome. So Rick then gives each of them robot tech similar to what he had before removing it, and they go bowling. While bowling, all of his friends are using this new tech of theirs to have fun, but Rick on the other hand wants nothing to do with it, because it reminds him of his past self.
Are you one of those hicks with robot arms?
What did you call me?
I thought you guys were owning it.
After bowling, while back at Rick's house, his friends are asking him to make more cool tech for them, but Rick doesn't want to do it, as his own friends have become symbols of his past life, and he can't stand it. The very act of making crazy sci-fi tech for them definitely wouldn't help him to keep feeling like a simple man, and Rick would rather make simple-minded tech, like a robot that dispenses floss sticks. So he gets rid of his friends from the bowling alley, his friends from a more simple life, and sends them back to their planet.
Want me to keep an eye on your old stuff?
Sell it if you want. Buy Louisa something nice.
Without his friends, Rick then begins traveling around to different dimensions as Ted, having different experiences while drunk, until eventually he ends up back at the planet with his bowling alley friends. While on the planet, he comes across tech of his which he must have built before leaving with his friends to defeat his past self, a machine that automatically kills fish.
You think God's nipples get hard when he murders a fish?
Yup. Rick clearly tried to prove his own hologram wrong by specifically making a machine using his godlike abilities, just to kill fish. But even such a machine feels lame, and leaves him empty. Rick then walks away from the machine and goes to visit his friends at a cemetery.
Well, look who's back.
Came to pour one out for Marjorie.
Marjorie's over there. This is little Mike.
Oh, Jesus.
He got run through on his own robot arm.
Ah,
One of Rick's friends then gets mad at him for essentially causing the death of both Marjorie and little Mike, so he tries attacking Rick. But Rick stops him in place using advanced tech of his. And as Rick does this, he sees a deer nearby which immediately runs away right as it sees him. And Rick then teleports home, leaving the people who were once his friends behind. Now, Rick seeing this deer before going home is actually very important, as deers often represent innocence and loss, as well as spiritual transition. Regarding innocence and loss, remember how at the start of this episode, while Rick was living as Ted, he nearly hit a deer? Well, while he was looking at that deer, the deer decided to stare at him, up until he removed his hat and face covering. The moment his face was revealed, the deer ran away. It's almost as if it's symbolism that while Rick's face was covered, he was Ted, who was innocent to the greater truth. But while Rick's face was revealed, he was his past self, which is not so innocent and caused the deer to flee. This moment of Rick's first encounter with the deer was Rick losing his previous life as himself to live as Ted, and he was about to go on a spiritual journey of light and purity, one of truly living, which is why as the deer was in his headlights, it looked as though it was the color white. But now after Rick is leaving his old friends behind, and the dream of Dreamlanes is over, the spiritual journey is reaching an end, and the deer is a marker indicating this. The deer now instantly runs away from Rick because it has seen his not-so-innocent face, and not the face of Ted. As well, the deer is now shown to be the color brown, because Rick is slowly returning to a not-so-innocent life, one that is impure. Once Rick gets home, he points out to Morty how he needs more portal fluid, as since he is still technically Ted, he is too dumb to make any more. It's like he's an addict who needs his fix of an escape from reality. And yup, Rick then destroys what's left of Ted's innocence, as he puts everything that represents his life as Ted into a shredder, and pushes the red button.
It didn't work.
No. It did.
Wow, this episode definitely was deep. I'd sure hope that these events eventually help Rick learn to enjoy his life more. Maybe this want of his to truly live for more than just 2 weeks sparked something in him. I guess we can only hope. Now, this episode actually has a lot more to take away than you may think. As I mentioned earlier, many of us are more similar to Rick than we may think, and for some reason we live our lives hating them, just waiting for those 2 weeks or 2 weekdays to come along. But that would mean that 2/3 to 95% of our life sucks, and that's no way to live. So that's why we should try and find ways to enjoy life every day, doing whatever it may be that we like. The honest truth is that we have the power to change our crappy circumstances. Although sure it can be hard, it's actually much more of a mindset than a physical limitation than we may think. If you don't think you can change your circumstances, you are right. But once you know that you have the power to change your circumstances, you are also right. And before you know it, your life will change for the better in ways you once didn't think possible. Then all you have to do from there is keep following the path of the purple button, being aware of the truth of the extent of your own personal power, while also being aware that you can use that power to make a fantastic life for yourself. After that, just make sure that you don't press either of the other 2 buttons, similar to how Rick caved in and pressed the red one. You can have the best of both worlds. Whether you find yourself in a horrible circumstance or an amazing circumstance, you are there because you have the power to shape your destiny, the power to restrict yourself, or the power to make yourself free of all restrictions, and boundless. The choice is yours. Now, if you enjoyed this video and want to hear more about Rick's entire story and how he got here, I have a video about that which is on screen right now. Or if you want to see my breakdown of Season 9 Episode 1, that video is also on screen. Go ahead and click one. As well, be sure to like and subscribe. I love you, have a good one, and remember, do you have restrictions or are you boundless?